Hello. As you can probably tell by everything that's going on, I am not Carl, and he's not hosting tonight. He is taking a break this weekend, but he's casually behind the scenes just to make sure that I don't mess up, which is probably a good thing for everyone involved. So it's me and Annie tonight talking through a limited week of championship action due to a number of sides still being in the FA Cup. But I guess I need to take away from the result today. How are you doing?
Uh,
Remove
yeah,
football. How are you doing?
not bad, not bad. Just kind of sailing along. As
Sailing
Plymouth
through
did
life, eh?
today, very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
then if we include Bristol City in this,
Awful, terrible, couldn't be worse.
could be Russ, could be a Bristol Rovers fan. To be fair,
Let's not bring that. Let's not bring them into this, Michael. You don't want me more angry, do you?
well now you know. Yeah, well at least your rivals are way above your rivals. Mine are the richest club in the world, but you've heard me rant about that before. Yeah, exactly. You know my pain. Right, we have quite a few. Right, I'm going to very briefly, and I've got a little segue in my head. I'm going to quickly touch on the midweek games, not the Borough Sunderland one, because obviously Sunderland have had a game since. Although I will say Annie was very happy with that result at the Riverside on Monday night, which
It
thank you
doesn't
to.
matter what if I'm happy or not. Christ, we need to win ourselves.
Well, either way, nobody's got the taking the scruff of the neck in this playoff race, are they? So we'll wait and see. It's everyone's inconsistent. I'll quickly touch on on two of the top four playing in midweek. I want to kind of skim through these, and then we'll go into the weekend action. And obviously, we've got a potential managerial departure to talk about. Um, yeah, exactly. The first one is on Tuesday night. Burnley finally, I was going to say finally scored a goal at home. They'd had quite a few goalless games at Turf Moor. The previous couple against nil-nils against Leeds and Sunderland. Spoiler alert: they kept a clean sheet again. They beat Oxford United at Turf Moor for Mikael Helik's own goal, which was I'd only actually just literally seen it not long before coming on to get a little bit of a perspective on it. But yeah, I guess Parker Ball is kind of rearing its ugly head again, Annie. What do you think about this one?
Funny old team, Burnley. Don't think. I think the narrative for them has been it's like set in stone for a while, hasn't it? I mean, it's been clear they're not going to score many goals, but Marcus Edwards has come in. He's already scored for Burnley in the FA Cup.
Yeah,
Um, he looks like a bit of a attacking threat. I mean, they've got a lot of quality in the attacking areas, which is
not
which you
utilising them
just
as
look.
much, are they?
Yeah. If you just look at it on paper, there's Fleming, Jaden Anthony, Sarmiento, Lar Foster. They've got some real kind of quality in the attacking third. It's just the inability of Scott Parker to kind of extract it to its full. Um, but yeah, just another win. They have to be winning these sorts of games. No disrespect to Oxford, they just have to be winning these games at home. Uh, and they find a way. They keep a clean sheet. I know you love your clean sheet. I mean, clean sheets win you games. If you have enough attacking quality, they'll win you enough games. And yeah, just another kind of just what you expect from Burnley now. So no surprise from my perspective.
Another day in the life of Scott Parker and Burnley FC, basically. There was a stat that I was interested to think about Burnley, right? And I think I'm going to double check this to make sure I get this right. Burnley have scored, how many is it? Burnley have scored 37 goals, right? Is it 31 games we've played now? Yes. There we go. So, but I wanted to see, I'll get your thoughts on this because this is something I would be a bit concerned about a little as a Burnley fan. And by the way, as you know, I pride myself on clean sheets. I take the mick out of myself all the time, saying that if you're good at the back, then anything you could have one scrappy goal like in this game at the other end, even if you're not great. However, out of the 37 goals they've scored, 14 of them came across 3 games this season. 9 of them came in the first two when they beat Luton away 4-1 and 5-0 at home to Cardiff. 5 of them, now granted, Sunderland didn't beat them the next game, but they came against Plymouth before they started to have this mini resurgence. And fair play to Plymouth, cracking win today against Liverpool in the FA Cup.
Mm.
But if you take out, and I know, and you can't take out goals. Obviously, you can't just go right. The table doesn't count because we're going to take out a third of your team's goals tally. But away those 14 goals aside, in 28 games, if my maths is right, they have scored 23 goals. So if you take out Plymouth away, Cardiff at home, Luton away, 23 goals and 28. That's quite alarming, I think, if you're wanting to be within the top two, unless your defence is going to be, which to be fair to Burnley, it has been. If your defence is going to be world class every game, then it doesn't matter as much. But even now, and this is coming from someone who likes keeping clean sheets a lot on the pitch, not to be dirty about it. But yeah, I'm someone who thinks being solid defensively is a really important thing. But even I must admit, I think Burnley, with the attacking quality they've got, need to be scoring more goals.
It's all about striking a balance.
Absolutely.
Ultimately, it's all about striking a balance, and Burnley have skewed one way too far. Although it's given them the best record defensively in the Championship has ever seen, and I think it's the best record defensively in Europe. But it's just there's still a frustration, isn't there? Because you can be as good defensively as you want, and Esteban, Egan Riley, and Roberts, and Perez, and whoever it is, Sonner, right back, and whoever it is really for Burnley this season, they've all stepped in, and they're all really quite brilliant defensively, and there's clearly a structure there. There's clearly a kind of game plan there. They've done this without, I'd say, arguably their second best defender in Jordan Bayer as well, who was monumental in their Championship promotion 2 seasons ago, and looked okay in the Premier League as well. So they've done it without him, which is incredibly impressive. Well, and Joe Worrell as well. But there is that attacking quality, and they've got loads of attacking options as well. And I mentioned, Fleming, Foster, Sarmiento, Anthony. They've got Luca Colliosho, Mike Trezor, Manuel Benson is not even getting a game. And this guy ripped up the Championship 2 years ago. So it feels like there is that frustration there. How likely is Scott Parker going to change it? He's not going to change it, as he means just conceded 9 goals. Why would you change it, really, from his perspective? If you kind of bank on maybe Burnley's attack getting better, as it probably should do over the rest of the season, with the quality they have, then this clean sheet record and this defense just holding up just ridiculously well, I have no reason to believe that Parker will change it, and I don't think really he should because they're in a playoff, not playoff, they're in a top 2 race. They're guaranteed a playoff place. So I think it's at the moment, well, he's not going to change it, and Burnley are not. It's not like Burnley are drawing every game 0-0. They're still scoring enough to kind of get by, keep in touch. So it's for the moment it's fine, and their goal difference is better than Sheffield United. It's better than Sunderland. It's not as good as Leeds, but it's better than the 2 closest to them. So yeah, it's a funny old one with Burnley, I think, but they're doing enough to get by and keep in touch, which is all they can do at the moment with a 3-point gap to Sheffield United.
Absolutely. I mean, even when you touch on the goal difference, to be honest, it doesn't need to be better than Leeds. It just needs to be better than the other 2, really. Because I think if you're Burnley, I'd imagine. I think Burnley fans wouldn't give 2 hoots about winning the league. I think if they get second place at the end of the season, the goal difference is like that extra point, really. I will say this for Burnley in terms of balance, though. Say they did miss out on top 2. To be fair to Scott Parker, he generally does get results against sides that are up at the top. And that's going to be massive if you're going to be in the playoffs, if I'm going to provide a bit of balance to this. If you look at the teams currently in the top 6, he's took 4 points off Leeds. He's already beaten Sheffield United away. Granted, to be fair, they lost away at Sunderland, but there was circumstances around that defeat, even though I think you can't, obviously, as a Sunderland fan, I don't want to detract by how well we played that day because they still had enough quality. But nevertheless, Sunderland has proven to be I'd like to think has proven to be a difficult away game this season. But even that aside, they got a draw against Sunderland at home. They've took 4 points off Blackburn. They've drawn away at West Brom. Even if you want to look at, say, Middlesbrough and Norwich, they've won away at Norwich. They've drawn twice against Borough. So they've only, out of the top 8, they've only lost once against anyone in the top 8, really. And that's quite encouraging, to be fair to them. But yeah, I can see your point, definitely. If you're keeping this many clean sheets, and there's no reason to suggest with 2/3 of the season gone, with a third of the games left, that you're not going to keep enough clean sheets, then if it gets results, then frankly, I suppose Scott Parker can say, who cares? But yeah, so, I mean, obviously Burnley were second until yesterday when until Sheffield United beat Portsmouth, but we'll get onto that in a bit. The other big midweek game, well, there were three midweek games, but one of them is going to segue into a general point. But the other one I'll mention, which are still the table toppers at the CBS Arena, of a result of which Carl and Ant in different ways will be absolutely buzzing with, which is Coventry City 0, Leeds United 2. First half goals from Joe Peru and Jaden Bogle set Leeds on their way. And got to be said, fair play for. I mean, I know Leeds lost in the FA Cup yesterday, but we're not going to. I don't think there's any point really mentioning that. They wouldn't have fielded their strongest team, and I think there's more important games on the horizon for Leeds. This one was massive though, because I think Coventry, if I'm right, had won 4 on the bounce going into
Yep.
this. I think, yeah, so that's no mean feat, and we know that Coventry, despite what Ant will try and tell you from a biased Leicester perspective, they are not a bad team at this level. They've got players that are capable of a playoff push and are only currently still 3 points off the playoffs. So to go there and look very comfortable by all accounts, from what I'm hearing, is really impressive. And could it be a sign that Leeds are starting to click a bit now?
I mean, I think they've been clicking for a while, haven't they?
I'll
I mean,
rephrase that, really clicking now then.
yeah. I mean, they're well on their way. I mean, it's just you're kind of waiting with Leeds, and this is a kind of general club statement, not this Leeds team,
Is this going
this
to be
Leeds
related
manager.
to the falling apart chant, is it?
I mean, you kind of if put it
Sauce
this way,
ball.
if Leeds don't get at least automatic promotion, something has gone so
Yeah, I agree.
drastically.
I agree.
Because who've they got left to play that is like difficult. They've got Sunderland. They've got Sunderland at Ellen Road. They've got to travel to Bramall Lane. They've got to travel to the Riverside.
They've got West Brom at Ellen Road, I think.
They've got West Brom at Ellen Road. They've got to go to Vicarage Road, and that's okay. That's it. That's it. It's not like a crazy
Yeah,
running. It's not like
no,
they've played the easy teams for the large proportion of it, and now they're 5 points ahead. But they've now got a really difficult run. They've banked their points really nicely. So I'd be confident if I was a Leeds fan and winning the title. And I think they probably will do now with the quality showing quite convincing at Coventry. I know Elan Meslier pulled off a really good kind of couple of saves at the end, but Ramazani I think had a one-on-one save. I think Nonto had a one-on-one save. Dovin had a really good game for Coventry despite them losing 2-0. So yeah, I mean they just look in complete
freaky
control. They look in complete control of the league now. So I would not be surprised if they just kind of just ticked along.
Steamroll to the end of the season, you'd imagine, I would think.
Just cruised, really. I mean, they've got a nice buffer now as well, so 5 points, which can just dissipate in 2 games, 2 bad games, and that can dissipate easily with the standard that's being set at the top at the Championship. But we just don't see it. I think Coventry can kind of write this one off a little bit and go, they're just way too good for anyone in this division. Yeah. Top 4 really are as well. So, I think Coventry have bigger games, and honestly, with the way this playoff race is going at the moment, well, bloody well part of it. Losing two in a row, losing 2 and 3, getting 1 point in 3 won't be that harmful at this point in time. No. Won't be that harmful. So, I think Coventry will. I think for their sake, for their hope will be that's not a confidence sapper. I know they lost in the FA Cup as well, and now they've got 2 massive games against QPR at the CBS, and then they've got to go to Hillsborough as well. So 2 teams, directly in amongst them, and Sheffield Wednesday above them, and it's a sandwich. QPR 1 place below them, and Sheffield Wednesday 1 place above them. So massive kind of massive week ahead for Coventry. So we'll be interested to see where they're placed by the end of that game at Hillsborough.
Exactly. I mean, to be honest, I think, and it's the same with Oxford at Burnley, by the way. I forgot to mention this, that for both of these teams, they've lost to 2 of the top 4. I don't think there's anything real in any shame with this. And I think just to quickly touch on Oxford, to be fair, if you look at how, for Burnley in particular, when beating Oxford, like Gary Rowett's made Oxford no mugs now. I'm not saying there were mugs before Gary Rowett was appointed, but there's no doubt Gary Rowett has improved Oxford, and they'll definitely they're quite some way clear of the bottom 3 now. So I think losing away at Burnley, you say, right, fine. Burnley are freakishly good defensively. Will definitely finish in the top 4. At very worst, will finish upper reaches of playoffs. And then in Coventry's sake, as you've just correctly alluded to, they've lost to. I mean, look, this is the team they fucking lost to. Sorry for me language here, but this is the team they lost to: Melier, Bogle, Rodon, Ampadu, Firpo, Gruev, Tananka, James, Harrison, Solomon, Peru. And then on the bench, you're looking at players like Ramazani, Rothwell, Struzek, Matteo Joseph, Nonto, Darlow, Byram. They're not even getting in their starting 11.
It's
Like,
I'm not being funny. Like Rothwell, Wober, Verber, and
before you
Byram.
say that, wasn't Rothwell a key part of Southampton going up last season as well? Exactly. It's
What?
you know,
They're not even getting on the pitch.
but that's what I mean.
What?
Those subs would walk into most teams, nearly everyone else's teams in this league.
Bring them here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when you're playing Burnley and Sheffield United, that would be much appreciated. But yeah, I mean, look, so fair play. The only thing I'll say on Leeds is, and I agree with that, as you guys have seen, I've said this for months, that I think even when Sunderland had that really good start and we were still, like, what was it, 5 points clear, I still said Leeds I fancy to win the division because across the season they will prove to be the best team. And I think the only thing that will potentially stop Leeds is Leeds. If you know what I mean. It's not anyone else that I think will end up getting near to them. It's more because will Leeds, well, to excuse the language, fall apart again. Even though I don't personally mind Leeds and I don't have any, I think Leeds. I think Leeds seem better, well-rounded now. They seem to be a bit more balanced as to me. And I know there was a couple of Leeds fans I saw, and I'd be keen. And maybe next time Carl's on, we can talk about this. But I wonder whether Leeds have just got that better balance now that they probably arguably didn't have last season, despite having Somerville, Gray, Kamara, Ruta. So
You just
I mean,
you just look at their squad now and just look through that squad list, and you go, apart from potentially goalkeeper for this level,
yeah.
apart from potentially goalkeeper, you're not looking at any weaknesses in terms of starting 11. Incredible, ridiculous depth, incredible, ridiculous, much better than everyone else in this league. Attacking options are rich. They're just bloody
Ooze
attacking
class,
players
don't they?
everywhere. Pirro, Joseph, Bamford still capable at this level. James, Nonto, Solomon. You got Ramazan. It's just crazy. I mean, the depth is just mental. So, and then, oh no, we've got midfield problems. No worries. We'll just put Rothwell and Tanaka in there for 5 months. It's mental. So, yeah. I think the summer of recruitment by Leeds has been marvelously good. It's really good. Because Tanaka came in, Solomon came in, Ramazani came in, Rothwell came in as well. So, yeah, I think they're well set and they should walk the league now.
Yeah, providing they're not complacent, which I don't think they will be. To be fair, I
Daniel
think.
Fark. This Daniel Farker team we're talking about. I don't
Well,
think
yeah,
they.
true,
I think
true. But to be
they're
fair,
probably relentless.
he always has good second seasons, so it looks like he's delivering to that now.
He
But
had a
yeah,
good first season as well.
well, yeah, only 90 points. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, Christ.
It's weird, like, imagine if you finished on six. I mean, I doubt it would happen, like, but you could genuinely finish on 89 points and probably win the league this year. That's how. I'm not saying it's going to happen. It's not as likely, but like,
We said this loads of times last season as well. I mean, we said, "Oh, Leeds are ridiculously unlucky. They've been caught in a bad place at the wrong time."
well,
Um,
yeah, because you didn't count on Ipswich doing what they did they?
and they and it's
Yeah,
a little and it's still not as normal as it normally is. That makes any sense.
yeah,
But it's a little bit more like close to average compared to last season, and it's not as not everyone is as freakishly good as it
yeah,
was
exactly.
last season. So yeah, Leeds in a nice position.
Absolutely. I don't think any Leeds fan will complain about that. The only way it would be nicer is if they were literally 10 points clear at the top, which they would argue if it weren't for a few Melier mistakes, they probably would be. But I've always maintained with Melier that I think for every mistake he makes 2 or 3 really good saves. It's just that obviously the mistakes as a goalkeeper will get noticed a lot more, unfortunately. Right, the last one of the midweek games, because then this will segue into the managerial change that we're going to talk about, and then segue into the weekend games. QPR beat Blackburn 2-1 at Loftus Road in midweek. I think is it Michael Fry? I'm going to get this name right. Yeah, Michael Fry scored as QPR scored from a free kick. Michael Rye, I believe, finished from close range. Tyree Dolan scored a penalty at the start of the second half before a player that I don't have fond opinions of, Jack Colback. He ended up, to be fair, scored a pretty good finish actually late-ish to win the game for QPR. I'll very quickly touch up for QPR. It gets them 3 points, isn't it? Yeah, 3 points above, 3 points below. On a West Brom won, didn't they? Because I'm thinking of them. Basically 4 points behind Blackburn, who are currently 6th. Bear in mind, Borough, there's a few teams that have a game in hand, but it's still a very congested playoff race. Spoiler, we already know that. For Blackburn, it's not a disastrous defeat by any means, but it's one where they would have been disappointed. But what could change the season and change the course of it to so sorry I'm kind of skimming through that game, but the big thing I want to talk about here is their manager. Now Blackburn lost 2-0 to today, I think it was, in the FA Cup to Wolves. But that's not the big story. The big story, John Percy from the Telegraph on social media, but apparently Derby are willing to have already paid Blackburn Eustace's compensation clause, which I believe he said was 500,000. I believe. So if that's
I think
wrong,
it was about like five. It was. I think it's about 500 to
oh,
750,000,
okay.
which is not.
No, it's not money. No, absolutely not a life changing sum of money at all. To be fair, for a head coach, it probably isn't that much these days for someone who's in
For
contract.
John Eustace, it's little to
I
nothing.
know. But yeah, I want to quickly talk about this because obviously this is going to dominate the headlines over the next few days with Blackburn. Venky's, well done. That's all I'll say to that one. But like, first and foremost, I'll get your thoughts on this in a minute. But for me, if Blackburn let this happen, well, I say let this happen. If this does, that's a bit harsh. If they, well, they no, it kind of isn't harsh because they put that clause in the first place, unless they wouldn't have been able to get Eustace without it. But if Eustace leaves Blackburn, who are sixth, to go to 22nd place Derby County, what does that say for Blackburn? What does that say for the job? Because John Eustace, for me, has been one of the shouts for manager of the season so far. Maybe not the best shout, but he's definitely up there. When you look at the expectations Blackburn had, bearing in mind he'd lost his top goal scorer last summer and has been able to use that money accordingly to replace them and has made them a really solid outfit and competing in the playoffs when a lot of people, especially when Smodix left, would have probably tipped them for relegation. I personally didn't. I thought I personally didn't, but I did think they would stay up. But I did say to caveat that if Smodix left, I couldn't see Blackburn doing very well. But fair play to John Eustace, he says, well, shut up the two of yous two, and then decides to go and have a really good season. But it looks like he might not finish it at Blackburn. I'll get your thoughts on it now, but for me, last thing I'll say is, from Blackburn's point of view, this could be really, really poor and really damaging. They're probably going to have enough points to, I mean, it depends on their next managerial appointment as to whether they continue the playoff charge, because this could really unsettle things. But I'll say this, well, for Derby County, if this happens for Derby, fair play. Like, fair play to them for that. But whether it happens or not is a different matter. Annie, over to you. What do you think? John Eustace potentially swapping Blackburn for Derby?
Well, Eustace has played for Derby before. There's a bit of a kind of a
True.
difficult hero there. So
Yeah, there is
there's
an
that.
emotional side of it, isn't there?
Yeah, there's that emotional aspect of it. He's from Birmingham, so he's kind of closer to home. If he goes back to kind of goes to Derby, I think you can't ignore that Derby are a massive club, right? You can't ignore that fact. They're a humongous club. I went on that away trip, and I kind of realised I was like,
I love
Christ,
how you just dismissed it as, just that little away trip. We lost 3-0,
that
but let's
away
just
trip.
ignore
Nah, that's all right.
that.
Not ignore the football.
Yeah.
That something just the fans that day just went. This club was in League One. It's like what? They're a humongous club. So there is that kind of pull there. Obviously, there's the argument that Eustace hasn't been backed at Blackburn as much as he probably should have deserved. I mean, if you look at the recruitment from the summer on, okay, a fair chunk spent on Maktar Gay and Yuki Hashi, who both have been quite good, very good. So that's
It's not
warranted.
more than they got. It's not more than they spent on that they got for Smodix, is it? You know,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
they
they
probably
spent.
still would have been in net profit, really, when you think about
Yeah,
it, or
yeah.
at least close
They
to it.
they signed an Andy Vyman, who I love Andy Vyman, but look, his legs looked like he'd gone, and he looked completely kind of devoid of confidence. He's been ridiculously good for Blackburn. Surprise, surprise. Danny Bath has been brilliant alongside Dom Heim at centre back. Owen Beck on loan has been quite good. Lewis Baker was on loan for half a season. He was good. Todd Cantwell is arguably one up there for like signing of the season in terms of complete bargains because very little in terms of transfer fee and just been really, really good. And then this January, where Blackburn are kind of they're in sixth or they're in fifth or whatever it was when January started. That's the point to go and back Eustace. They signed Dion Sanderson on loan from Birmingham. Okay, someone who knows Eustace, so fair. They signed Adam Forshaw on a free transfer from Plymouth. Weird. Uh, and then on deadline day, they signed Corley Woodrow, Yuri Ribeiro, and Emmanuel Dennis. And I think they also signed Augustus Cargbo, who I have no idea about, and is unproven. So clearly he wasn't backed, and that's unsettled Eustace quite a lot. And is he going to get backed at Derby? Hell yeah, yes he is, because Paul Warne was heavily backed, not heavily backed. Well, he was relatively backed across both windows. Zetterstrom was quite a bit of money. They spent a lot of money on the centre back Sondre Langas. They spent a bit of money on Lars Jurgen Salverson, and they spent about 850 grand on Evo Adams as well. So he's going to get more back at Derby than he was at Blackburn, that's for sure. So I see it. To be honest, and I think over the longer term, I see a bit bigger kind of uprise and a bigger potential in Derby compared to this current setup at Blackburn. This current setup at Blackburn, I see a lower ceiling than Derby. I think if he goes into Derby, keeps them up, which I can still see happening because I think there's some really good players in there at Derby. And if he keeps them up and then he builds on that, I think they can really push up the Championship table and progress and accelerate that progression into John Eustace. So I see this as a massive win for Derby, and honestly, might be some short term pain for Eustace, but long term, if he can do enough to keep them up, I think this is a bigger project than Blackburn.
Yeah, I mean, if you're certainly looking at it from an ownership perspective, we know about the Venkies at this point. They I was saying to Carl before we're behind the scenes before we did start recording about how the Venkies at Blackburn, Chancery at Sheffield Wednesday. They're owners. They're owners that need to get lost basically because without them, the current setups that are there are restricting those clubs. And I will say, yeah, you're right. Derby are a very very big club, but I would also say so are Blackburn. And for the Venkies to have let this happen and to
Yeah,
barely
no,
back
agreed.
Eustace, for the Venkies to barely back Eustace when they are in a playoff race when if you look at it this way, the standard is not as good this season in the Championship. I mean, I guess it's not fair as much to compare it to last year because obviously, as you said, last year was freakishly good at the top. But Blackburn have a shot of promotion here, and if they lose Eustace because they didn't back him as much in the window, then even more questions will get asked of the Venkies than what currently rightly do on a regular basis anyway. But
And who would they get in that could
be better
use
than
this squad as
Eustace.
well as Eustace? If
Yeah,
they if they want to sustain a playoff push this season, which I still think they could potentially, who are they going to get in that knows the squad as well? Who's just going to extract the best out of this squad? And I'm not looking at anyone going, you are perfect for this Blackburn squad. I'm not looking at anyone going that. I'm looking at John Eustace and going, you're perfect for this Blackburn squad. So yeah, I think it's gonna be really difficult for Blackburn to. But there's enough experience in that Blackburn squad, Andy Vyman, Danny Bath, Dom Hyam,
absolutely.
Adam Forshaw, we just mentioned, Sanderson, Pears, some experience and good players in there as well. So there's Travis. So there's enough good players and experience for them to keep kind of just grinding results out. So I'm not concerned about them as in they're going to fall down the league table massively because of Eustace leaving, but it's a massive hammer blow for their playoff push for sure.
But that we have to caveat this that if this happens, because John Eustace could still turn Derby down. How likely that is, I don't know.
Yeah, it looks.
Yeah,
He mentioned in his post-match interview today where he went, um, when a manager's linked and they kind of go, and normally if they're not going, they kind of go, oh, not interested, but kind of I'm committed and stuff like that. The kind of cliche things. He didn't say that, and
yeah,
that just gives me a feeling he maybe wants to go to Derby.
yeah. There's
Um,
a possibility of it. I mean,
so
to be fair, I mean, I know it's a different level of class of manager, but Michael Beale, when he was at QPR, kind of did the whole, well, I can't be preaching togetherness here. I'd be the first one to leave, and then as soon as Rangers go, he
no, no,
jumps off. And don't
no.
get me wrong, Rangers are massive, absolutely, but it just flies in the face of what you say when, you know, when he says, "Oh yeah, I'm not going to go anywhere," or basically says, "I'm not going anywhere. I can't preach togetherness, then leave." But I take the point you're making. Look, he usually managers deny if they're in a chance of leaving, but if he hasn't, then yeah, this could be a goer. So basically, the three famous words: "Watch this space." So we'll see what happens with that one. But to get on to the weekend's action, we'll start with Derby County. Actually, Derby finally ended their losing run, and a very, very good point away at Carroll Road. Josh Sargent had given Norwich the lead with just over 20 minutes left of normal time remaining, and then Derby get a penalty in stoppage time as Jack Stacey sort of tries to clear the ball and miss kicks it, and then Derby end up getting a penalty, which Jerry Yates gratefully dispatches. What a way! So for Norwich, very quickly, because obviously the main talking point will be about Derby. Yeah, for Norwich, it was a chance for them to jump into the playoffs. I think they would have gone into sixth had they won. But at the end of the day, the gap's still that tight to sixth place that it's too congested, and this will go right down to the wire. So from Norwich, it's disappointing, but you move on to the next game, which I believe is at home to Preston on Tuesday night.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's another chance for them to respond from this and get 3 points there. Which they and when they and by the, for Norwich quickly with Josh Sargent being back, massive boost for them. If they keep him fit, then I wouldn't bet against Norwich finishing in the top six. But from Derby's point of view, what a result!
Yeah, very good point for Derby. I mean, I think did they not have a goal disallowed in the first half for a
Yes,
not
Salverson scored. Yeah,
not very clear offside? It didn't look completely
championship referees,
linesman. Yeah,
yeah, officials.
yeah, not doesn't look very clear. So a little bit hard done by, and from what I heard, it was Norwich looked a bit stodgy, looked a bit kind of, and there was a lot of positivity going into this game because they had Slimani and Spencer Slimani back, they had Marcelo Nunez back, and they just didn't quite take it, kind of take the game to Derby, who just stacked Paul one, and it looked like okay, they're a bit fragile, they're a bit vulnerable, but no, they got their centre backs back, Derby, Phillips, Clark, and the new fella from Norway all started Lars something. Um, too many names. And
Well, as bad as remembering names as me, then yeah.
you know what? Just for this, I'm gonna check what his name is. What was your name?
Well,
Sondre Langas, not Lars. That's the striker. Sondre Langas. Yeah, they all started and really restricted Derby to really restricted Norwich to very little in the way of anything, and then one bit of quality from from Mahovo, who by the way, quality youngster who could be the next. Norwich have a knack of producing youngsters. You know, Johnny Rolassies and Mahovo and Callum Fisher. They've all kind of been in the team. Mahovo recently has been really impressive.
Max Aarons and John Lewis, not John Lewis, Jamal Lewis. John Lewis, not
Max
Colin Brown.
Ben
Aarons and Lewis.
Godfrey.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
they've and then kind of developing Madison a little bit as well. So they've got a knack, Norwich, and they've got a really good attack academy set up. So he's heavily involved in that first goal. Marcondes to Sargent, back to no, goes into Marcondes to Sargent, Marcondes, Sargent, finish. Sargent's the best striker in the championship, I think. I think that's pretty. When he's fit, he's just
At the very least, he's one of, but there is a strong
yeah.
argument that he is the best.
He probably. I mean and this is a guy who couldn't cut it in the Premier League apparently. So if Norwich might find a way to get promotion, I wouldn't, and he gets an opportunity, a fair opportunity in the Premier League. I think he might score a few goals and well, yeah, I think he'd shine. But yeah, bit
Find
of
him next season,
quality,
Sunderland.
bit of quality from Sargent. Really good finish, just a thumping finish, very convincing finish. Now in strikers, I don't like it when strikers trying to like they're one on one and they're trying to play it around. They just put it in the back of the net. That's what he did. Just brilliant. Just thumped it in.
Just score. Just
Yeah,
just go on.
yeah, and then Norwich. It's similar to that Watford game before this. So they looked like they were going to just see it out and just kind of ride it out and see it 1-0. Nope. Jack Stacey decides to do something very stupid and gives a foul away in the penalty box. Penalty. Yates not missing for now. Derby get a very valuable point, ends the rut, and kind of yeah, just get a
1 point
point.
off
Don't,
safety.
don't lose the game. Keep in touching distance, as you said. And yeah, It's a good point for Derby. I mean, they'll want to. They'll if Eustace does come in, they'll be a little bit more proactive away from home, I suggest, than what Paul Warne had set them up to do. They'll be probably a little bit more high energy, a bit more pressing and whatnot, and they might get a few more results away from home. But yeah, a good point for Norwich. A good point for Derby. Something to build on.
Absolutely, and they've obviously got the Gary Rowett derby on Tuesday when Oxford go to Pride Park. So that's going to be fascinating, that one, to see how that. And I mean, if you look at it, but obviously, and it's a pretty big game for them as well, because obviously after that they go to QPR, they host Millwall, who weirdly are still in the playoff picture themselves as well. They go away to Middlesbrough, which knowing the Championship, you wouldn't be shocked if Derby got something there. And then obviously, if John Eustace does go to Derby, then Blackburn visit Derby on the 8th of March. That could get tasty. And then they host Coventry and then go to Plymouth before the next international break. So there's a pretty mixed run of results for Derby. But that result is one that can be one where could be built on and confidence could be built from. So no, like I've said, from
They've
Norwich's
they've
point,
they've got to find a way to build up that home form again because they've been
absolutely, yeah.
losing too many home games recently, and that's what got them success at the start of the season. So they've got to find a way to start winning home games again.
Absolutely. I mean, I suppose in fairness to them, that a couple of their home games recently have been against Sunderland and Sheffield United. But yeah, when you're finding a way to lose games that you'd expect against sides that aren't in the top four, for example, then yeah, it is a bit. That's probably why Paul Warne ended up getting the sack. But and quickly on Paul Warne actually, because we haven't really mentioned him very much. But obviously, Paul Warne got sacked on Friday. It's one. I wonder what will happen next with Paul Warne because he's done well to get Derby into the Championship, but it just seems to me now he might get his opportunity again in the future, but he seems to me to be a very solid, steady League One manager. I don't know whether he's able to do it at Championship level now. And bearing in mind the resources he would have had at Derby, while not the biggest budget in the league, would have been far bigger probably than what he had to work with at Rotherham. But yeah, there'll be a queue of League One clubs wanting to get Paul Warne next. Whoever, if there's any managerial vacancies, who knows? Maybe Steve Evans gets sacked from Rotherham, and maybe it could be a return there. Who knows? But we'll see with that one. Right, one of the other games that happened on Saturday lunchtime was at the Hawthorns, where there was no goals until for the first 73 minutes, and then everything kicked off in the last 20. So Adam Armstrong, who West Brom had signed on deadline day, and by the way, that is a fantastic signing, I think. Adam Armstrong's
Just about signed on deadline day with like
just the
5 minutes left.
best ones. Leave it till the end, man. You know how it works. But quickly enough that it's Sunderland were actually loosely linked with him. Oh, aye, a boyhood Newcastle fans are really going to go to Sunderland.
You were linked with a player. What's that? What's signing?
Linked with a signing, who knows? Oh god! But yeah, somehow we were linked with a Newcastle fan, which is weird. And by the way, that doesn't bother me in the slightest. He would have improved us considerably, but there's no way he
Is
will come
Chris
again.
Rigg not a Newcastle fan, or am I?
He's. I don't know. Well, I would suspect he might. I think his father's
I'm
definitely of that persuasion. But yeah,
chucking
yeah.
names in
Oh
here.
well, you never. Yeah, but Adam Armstrong, I think, is. I don't know how many times he played for Newcastle. The point is, he probably wasn't likely to come here. It was us in Middlesbrough that got linked, and then West Brom got him. But either way, if it's our perceived lost, it's definitely West Brom's gain because he scored on his debut to put
Goal
West Brom
machine.
in front. Yeah, put West Brom in front. Callum Patterson equalised in stoppage time, which you think would be the goal that gets Chef Wed a point.
Have you seen the Callum Patterson goal?
Yes, I
It's
have seen it.
it. This man has scored. There was one season where Sheffield Wednesday the season Sheffield Wednesday got relegated, and his goal compilation was the funniest thing you'll ever see in your life because it's just a catalogue of horrendously bad finishes that somehow end up in the back of the net. It'll be like complete miss kicks from 6 yards out that dribble into the bottom corner, and it's like this guy scored like ridiculous, like
Give me,
lots of goals
yeah.
at championship level. It's like how, and this goal, to be fair, he's a bit unlucky because he hits it straight at the defender's cranium, but then the second one goes in. But yeah, I love Callum Patterson because he's just entertaining sort of player. But yeah, his goal catalogue, so I'm sure he'll admit it as well. It's
Are they
just not it.
blockbuster level quality or
They're,
entertainment?
they're, they're not aesthetically pleasing. Put it that way.
Well, I'm pretty sure Callum Patterson won't care. And if he does that
Effective.
on March the 16th against Sheffield United at Hillsborough, then I don't think Chef Wed fans will I think he'll be given a cult hero status just for a scruffy goal off his, I don't know, his the his
At the
backside or
Norwegian.
something. He'll just stick his backside out and he'll just shoot it in the back of the net from like 2 yards. God, if Callum Patterson's capable of those goals, you wouldn't put it past him. But no, that goal you would think would get Sheffield Wednesday a point, but nope. There was another goal to talk about where Jason Malumbi scores a interesting finish from a corner where I think it went through the keeper and then somehow ended up into the bottom corner, which was a crucial win for West Brom because, as we've said, the Championship playoff race, and spoiler, this might be said quite a few times here, it's very, very tightly congested, but it moves West Brom up into fifth. Obviously, they're still 12 points behind Sunderland in fourth, but yeah, I think any 1/5 downwards is fighting for fifth and sixth, unless we go on a Michael BLS bad run, which I'd like to think we won't. But either way, West Brom have got themselves into fifth, and then they decided they don't need Kyle, and then Kyle Bartley decided he fancied a break for the next few games because then there was a scuffle at the final whistle where he basically just pushes his arm right into somebody's face, and then was stupid enough to get
And
himself
then
a
and
red
then he
card.
tries to defend it, and then
And
after that he pulls
didn't touch him, ref.
Jason. No, he goes in front of the referee, and then he pulls Jason Malumbi over and goes, "Hey ref, this is what I did," and then shoves Malumbi into the thing. I'm like, that's at least a booking. So yeah, I mean
Yeah,
it's silly from Bartley, but huge win for West Brom, especially considering the manner of it, kind of the emotions around it. Malumbi scoring the last minute winner. Um, Jason Malumbi, goal machine. I mean, Christ, he scored. He scored against Plymouth, and he scored against Sheffield Wednesday now, and again beating someone who are directly just
absolutely.
beneath you. Pretty big. So yeah, a big win for West Brom in the manner of which they did it. Disappointing for Sheffield Wednesday because they probably wanted to see that point out and would have been a good point. Again, 93rd minute equaliser away from home, good point. See it out. No, they can't. Danny Roll will be fuming because of a set piece as well. It's just not the ideal ending. Not a good ending
No,
for Wednesday. Who honestly a point at the Hawthorns is a very good result. I know a team chasing the playoffs who are directly in competition with West Brom would like to go there and win, but away from home, Hawthorn's a tough place to go to. So a point would have been in that manner not been a bad result. But unfortunately for Wednesday, they didn't quite get it.
well, especially it would have. Yeah, they didn't quite manage to, and there were seconds away from doing so, and it would have been a very good result, especially with the rubbing for Tony Mowbray that he's obviously got there at the moment. It's almost kind of a bit harmonious at the back at the Hawthorns at the moment. But yeah, I mean, but again for Sheffield, I mean, there's still again, this is how close it is. Still 3 points off sixth, which a couple of results either way can still sway this. So we'll see how that one ends up panning out. Right, so we've got three more games to talk about left. Obviously, we'll save our two clubs till last. But the other game that happened, just you wait. Oh, just you wait for my frustrations on yesterday.
Oh
Was
no, last minute equaliser and a draw. Oh no, how hard can it
I
be?
know, throwing away a lead in
Fourth
a
place
winnable
now.
game when watching Sheffield United go five, going a few points clear of you. Brilliant. Having
Guaranteed
said that,
playoff place, Michael. Guaranteed playoff place. How I would love that.
well, yeah, that is very true, but you're still a few points off it, so you never know. But maybe we just don't expect anything for the rest of the season. As you said in your video, you might actually get there, so who knows? Just don't expect.
Good point.
Do reverse psychology tactic and see if it works. It works for me before. There you go. Reverse psychology. We will definitely not get second place this season. No chance of it. Reverse psychology, not. But anyway, speaking of the team going for second place, Sheffield United won. They won 2-1 against Portsmouth at Bramall Lane, which obviously was a result of
Let's
my
say
annoyance.
something that I feel like I'm gonna expect. Keep going. Keep talking. Keep talking.
Okay, go on,
About
right.
Sheffield.
Well, it was a result that was of annoyance to me, but nevertheless, um, this game you think would have been. I'm going to steal the quote from the second tier pod here, actually, but you would have expected this to be a run of the mill home win for Sheffield United, but bizarrely, it wasn't. And actually, if you look at in just looking at the highlights, Pompey had some really, really good opportunities, including a sitter from Callum Lang, I think it was, from a yard out that Will Grigg would have been proud of. Somehow managing to miss it. Yeah, I've not forgotten Will Grigg. But I'll give Sheffield United this. To be
Where's he
fair,
now?
sorry,
Where's he now? Where's Will Grigg now? Is it Chesterfield?
Chesterfield, I think it is.
Okay, Paul Cook.
Honestly,
Okay, yeah.
honestly, a contender for the worst striker we've ever signed, and that says
Is it
quite a
3 million or something? It's gone on as well.
3 million rising to fourth. We'd got the Prem, so it's going to be 3 million. Basically, yeah. But for context, Wilson Isidore cost around the same amount as Will Grigg. So for us,
Honestly, Will Grigg is probably a better all-round striker.
absolutely.
Was he ever was Wilson Isidore ever on fire?
I know, exactly. Yeah, it wasn't on fire in the last few minutes yesterday, put it that way. But either way, yeah, to be fair, from Sheffield United's point of view, we've got to talk about Gus Hamer's goal. Like
No, it's all
really, really
right.
yeah, it was really, really sublime finish. Good, classic Wilder Sheffield United play. Gets the ball down the left wing, cuts inside, and then curls a beautiful shot. I think it was with his left foot that goes all right into the bottom right corner. Couldn't have hit that any better if he tried. But then Portsmouth responded a few minutes later, and if you think you butcher names, I'm going to butcher this guy's name. I think it's Connor Ogilvy. There you go. See, I've got it wrong. I know I've got that wrong. I'll just call him
It's not
Con.
bad. It's not bad.
Yeah, I'll just call him Connor. Connor equaliser. Connor
Oh
equaliser.
no, bold corner, bold corner, bold corner.
But what Voldemort? Right, call him that. No, that's Alex Neil. Sorry. Right.
John Joe Shelby.
Yeah, true. Yeah, no, Voldemort. It's John Shelby. Yeah, there was a funny chant me and my mate were coming up with when he said, "Harry Potter, he's coming for you." But yeah, so no, but Connor Ogilvy. I'm gonna presume I've got that right. So anyone correct me if I'm wrong, because I probably am. Anyway, it was a good finish. Good finish at the back post minutes after Sheffield United took the lead to make it 1-1. Then they had a goal disallowed at the start of the second half. But as you know, if you don't take your chances, what often happens? You get punished, especially by teams at the top. And to be fair to Sheffield United, it was another good, quick, well-worked move down the left-hand side. Ball comes across the box, and from close range, Raksaki, who has returned from injury, which is very good for Sheffield United, to be fair, converts Ryan Brewster's cross, and Sheffield United win the game 2-1. They could have made it more comfortable in stoppage time when I believe it was Ryan Brewster was through on goal and hit the crossbar. But no, in the midst of Sunderland dropping points, in the midst of the fact that Burnley won in midweek, vital for Sheffield United and jump back into second place. But the performance from what I'm hearing, because I've not seen any of it, didn't sound particularly convincing. But it's a win nonetheless.
That's what they do. It's just what they do. I mean, they're going to take advantage of teams not being clinical or being wasteful or whatever. Or not at it, and they just win. Just win Sheffield United at the moment. Yeah, Pompey missed, I think, 2 open goals or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
Can't be doing that at Bramall Lane. You just can't. And yeah, Sheffield United punish you with Brereton Diaz, Cannon, Raksaki, Callum O'Hare, Gostheimer, whoever on that pitch is a goal threat. So not surprising. Sheffield United keep taking over, but they can't keep performing like that and expect results, because better teams, no disrespect to Pompey, with more quality or a little bit more kind of championship experience, will eat you alive. Quite
Have you
frankly,
seen their next 2 home games?
I have not.
Middlesbrough, I can tell you, Middlesbrough and Leeds.
Yeah, good luck, Chris Wilder.
Have you noticed the Chris Wilder derby actually?
But yeah, that's the Chris Wilder derby, and Leeds as well, just a derby. So
Yorkshire derby, just a Yorkshire derby.
just a derby. Oh my God, that's. Oh, I just remembered something. Okay, yeah,
You are right though, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
if you're gonna, to be fair, I mean, the thing that needs to improve for Sheffield United for top 2. Don't tell Chris Wilder this though, because he didn't like it when Hugh Wissencroft did ask this. Was when they asked about results against sides around them, they need to improve if they want to get in the top 2. And then his response was, "Oh, well, how do you work that one out?" Yeah, I hate stuff like that. But in fairness to them, there is a fair point to this, because they've lost at home to Burnley. They got battered away at Leeds. I know the result was 2-0, and people might go, "Oh, 2-0, what a battering!" But like Leeds should have won by more on the day. And they lost away at Middlesbrough, which, to be fair, was a reasonably tight game. But I think he tends to have a habit of not winning as many games against sides around the top end of the league. So if they're going to prove their credentials in that, then this is the time to do it, to be fair. So yeah, but you are right. I think when they come up against better sides, they either need to raise their levels, which with the quality of players they've got, they're capable of doing, or they will get punished for it. Because look, don't get me wrong, Middlesbrough aren't great as we found out on Monday night. Middlesbrough aren't great defensively, but what they do is that they do score goals. They do create a lot of chances. And I think Middlesbrough would be better than Pompey at putting them, even for Borough standards, when they miss quite a lot. You'd back Borough to put them away more often than Portsmouth. But to be fair to Portsmouth, though, yes, they didn't get anything. Yes, they probably should have got something based on performance. But if you can go away to second in the league, basically, and be the better team and be disappointed not to come away with anything, you've got to take, especially given their recent away woes, they've got to take some encouragement for that in the relegation battle.
It's all well and good saying that,
as long as they start finishing their chances. By the way, just to make that clear.
Yeah, but they've got 15 games left. how much longer can you how much longer can you go? Oh, you know what? We played well. We played well away from home. It's fine. It'll happen
Mm.
next time. It'll happen next time. We've only got so much more games left. And
Well, if the
Pompey
season
are
ended now, though, they'd be happy.
yeah. I mean, they're out of the relegation zone at the moment.
Although it is close to
Uh,
call.
and I know I watched Tom from Horne written all over it.
Great guy.
He talked about Connor Shaughnessy being back, and their defense now being a lot more kind of reassured and kind of just and him and well Bristol City's backup centre back who now we desperately need. Rob Atkinson is out on loan at Pompey and playing really well.
Hmm.
Him and Shaughnessy now look really good as a kind of centre back pairing. So yeah, I mean they're going to bank on their Fratton Park form for sure. I'm not sure who they've got at Fratton Park. I know
I can
they've
tell you
got
now if you want, unless you want to tell you. But
yeah, yeah, go on.
they've got Cardiff on Tuesday night, 6-pointer if ever you saw one.
Yeah,
Then they go away to Oxford next weekend. I think it's, yeah, next weekend. QPR visit Fratton Park not long after that. Before a relegation 6-pointer, which I never thought I'd be saying at the start of the season for them. Luton away. Then after that, they have Leeds at Fratton Park. And by the way, just quickly, Portsmouth at Fratton Park, they've only lost to Sunderland, I think, out of the top four at Fratton Park, but obviously Leeds are a different level to the other three. Then they have Plymouth at Fratton Park again. So this is what I mean. I've said this loads of times. I said it at the start of the season. These are the sort of games that Portsmouth need to get results in, really. So yeah, there's no reason why they can't do it. They just need to they just need to start finishing their chances. Basically, easier said than done. But finish your chances. And I'm not. I think they will be with three worse teams than Portsmouth. I would be quite surprised if Pompey got relegated.
but aren't you worried someone like a Luton are going to start winning games, and then maybe even Hull start winning games, and then
Well, we play
them?
Luton on Wednesday, so yes.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Luton's squad. I'll put it that way. Are much better than their league position
Oh
suggests.
yeah,
So
I agree.
uh, I think the only worry for Pompey, and maybe even for someone like a Cardiff, potentially a Stoke, is something like maybe actually no, maybe Stoke should be better than they are. But someone
No, but
like
I know
that
the point you're making. You
is like
you wonder if Luton will start to click a bit more and will start to get a bit of more
yeah.
gel together with Matt Bloomfield and then start
And,
to
and
rise up a little.
I'm not saying they win like 10 out of their next 15. I'm saying they win 3 out of 5 or
Well, they can
something
do
like
that
that.
as long as they lose on Wednesday first.
Just start putting pieces together
Yeah,
and
yeah.
start kind of moving up projecting up,
Start performing
up,
to the level you'd expect, closer
yeah,
to what you'd expect
much
of them.
closer to the level you'd expect them to. So, and Hull as well, the quality they have, not 21st in the league. So that'll be my only worry for Pompey. But at the moment, they're doing enough, and at the moment, well, they're out of the bottom three. So
Yeah.
happy
And I
days.
suppose to be fair, if and to add it into the mix, if John Eustace goes to Derby, that's another spanner in the works. To be fair, so that would make the relegation battle potentially more interesting than it already is. And remember, Plymouth have started to pick up a bit as well. They took 4 points from Sunderland and West Brom, beating Liverpool today in the FA Cup. So their confidence will start to come through. So it's going to be a fascinating end to it. I'm going to do what Ant said last season with Leicester and say I am glad we're probably safe now. 59 points. We probably will not get relegated.
I wonder.
Well, while you're doing that, I will segue into the last two games to start to wrap this up. Even though in my waffling, we will probably go on for another 10 minutes. Carl must be driving his hair, tearing his hair out behind the scenes. Poor guy. But either way, right. So, Sunderland 2, Watford 2, to quote Ali Maxwell. It was a match that happened. Um, what, yeah, what to say about this one? Right. Well, obviously we broke the deadlock 15, 16 minutes gone where it has to be said from terrible Watford defending from a corner where a ball comes in from Enzo Lefay's corner. I think it was Enzo Lefay, either him or Patrick Roberts, but I'm sure it was Lefay. Put a ball in from the left corner. Trey Hume at the back post. Dick Dings pretty much puts a ball across the face of goal, and then Luke O'Neill is somehow completely unmarked with 1 yard out, and then heads Sunderland in front. We had a couple of decent half chances after that to try and extend the lead, but nothing really major. And then so we do what we do best. We like to sit back and invite a bit of pressure, which was a bit frustrating. But Watford, to be fair, we're getting the ball round and getting a bit more intensity. And then was it the 40th minute or 41st minute? Then the game changed to some degree. Uh, Patterson makes a good save, a close range, a decent save, even though it was a header that was straight at him, but he saved it nonetheless. It went out, and then Dennis Serkin decides to do a high boot, and then give the referee a decision to make. Watford penalty, which Dale Bashuru, I think it is. Yep, Bashuru scores, converts it, 1-1 at half time. And to be fair to Sunderland, because as you know, I hate conceding goals, but a penalty, and then to be fair, what should be a contender for goal of the month was scored. To be fair to them, when we did mess around with the ball, we got broke on quite quickly, and loser, which is hilarious, it's a hilarious surname, it has to be said, but nothing loserish about the finish. What a strike that was! What a strike that was! Quick Watford break from about probably 30 yards out. Loser couldn't have pinpointed that any better. Patterson had no chance to save it. And then Sunderland, we kind of struggled to. We tended. I don't know how much of the game you watched, Annie, if any of it, but we basically tried to force too much in the second half, and we couldn't seem to get into our rhythm, and we weren't creating as much. And then the last 10 minutes, including stoppage time, we decided to wake up and decided to start doing something. Another goal we scored from a set piece, which, by the way, from Watford's point of view, is shocking because we are horrendous at corners in terms of attacking them. So Levy puts a low corner into the box. Isidore does a pretty good flick, to be fair. Dennis Serkin stabs home from close range. And from looking like we were going to suffer our first home league defeat this season, we then have two glorious chances at the end to win it, despite not being anywhere near our best. Eliza Mienda came off the bench, got us up the pitch really quickly, fed through Wilson Isidore, and all you've got to do is get the ball past the keeper on target, and it's 3-2. Doesn't happen. And to be fair, the keeper makes a good save to sort of preserve the point. And then we had Milan Alexic, who came off the bench on the left-hand side, who runs into the box and fires straight at the keeper again. And then, so it wasn't quite as big a chance as Isidore's, but it was still big enough to ruin him missing it. And then, wow, what an end to the game it was. I guess from our point of view, it was important to not get beat and to at least take something from the game. It's just getting annoying when we keep seem to be playing sides back into form. So if Bristol City are out of form by the time we go to Ashton Gate, don't worry because you'll be playing Sunderland, and we'll probably give you a 1-0 win, and you'll end up surging the win last 3 games and finishing the playoffs. No one knows. But either way, imagine that Bristol City Sunderland in the playoffs. Yeah, this is Sunderland. I wouldn't count my chickens. But yeah,
We've never won in the playoffs, Michael.
When was the last time you finished in the playoffs? Actually, out of interest.
Don't remember it, to be honest.
Okay, so it's quite some time ago then. Well, either way.
Dean Windass, I'll say that.
Yeah. Well, all right then. If we end up finishing, say, 3rd and you get 6th, then we'll go, all right then. We'll meet, I'll try and come down to Ashton Gate for the first leg. But we'll see how that goes. Yeah, to be fair though, look, Sunderland definitely didn't deserve to win. It would have been very harsh on Watford not to have got anything out of the game. I didn't think Watford created as many chances as what I rephrase that. So, some people felt Watford deserved to win, which they're minutes away from winning. Of course, they're going to be disappointed with it. So you should be. You've let in a goal in the 89th minute when you've relatively comfortably restricted Sunderland at home, which isn't an easy thing to do for a lot of teams this season.
It's what we did at the Stadium of Light, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and it worked until the 93rd minute or so. It was an injury time equaliser, wasn't it? So you got minutes away from.
Decided to put on a left-footed player at right back. Yeah.
Well, Patrick Roberts decides to have an end product for a change, and I do like Patrick Roberts, by the way, but his end product is not. He's not the best. He's not the most prolific of players. Let's put it that way. But I think a draw was just on the balance of play, just about right. I think Sunderland did create enough to deserve something, but like with Sheffield United with Pompey, we have to play a lot better than that if we want to keep in touch with the top 2. So as I said, we have Luton at home on Wednesday night, and then only the only easy task of Leeds away at Ellen Road on a Monday night. God help us there. But then again, no one knows. Sorry?
Should be 6 points then, easily.
Well, no one knows. Honestly, it wouldn't shock me if we drew against Luton and beat Leeds. It's a Sunderland thing and it's a championship thing. It's just this league's just
right.
This league is the league that just does not have common sense. Basically, just don't expect the unexpected. But yeah, no. So from Sunderland's point of view, it was important to get something out of it. It keeps us just about in the hunt for automatics, and there is still a third of the season left to play. There's still twists and turns to be had yet, but from Watford's point of view, it was important to end the run. I wish they'd waited a game later for this, but at least they've ended the run of defeats. Obviously, they've got Leeds in midweek, haven't they? At Vicarage Road, so that's going to be obviously I think if Watford lose that, it's a similar one to Coventry, where you just go best team in the league. If you lose it, so be it. Move on to the next one. But Tom Cleverley, again, I will say, he's done, considering what a lot of people expected from Watford at the start of the season and the mental ownership at Watford. Not quite Chansiri and Benke's level, but he's still interesting. Somehow he's under pressure internally, but if you believe what you hear. if that's the case, that is ridiculous because Tom Cleverley has done an incredible job to keep Watford right in the mix for playoffs, or even well away from the bottom three, which many predicted at the start of the season. Both second tier and not the top 20 pod predicted Watford to get relegated, if I remember rightly. So no, fair play to Tom Cleverley for that, and fair play to Watford for showing a lot of resilience second half. And yeah, if either of those late chances had gone in, it would have been, admittedly, it would have been harsh on them. One quick incident I would want to mention, of course, it wouldn't be without me going on about referees, but I will say this. I don't know. There's been a lot of debate. I don't know what you think, Annie. I think Watford's penalty was a penalty. I don't have any complaints with that being given. I know some people have said on social media, "Oh, he's going down anyway." But the fact you're leaving your leg very high is given it's a potentially dangerous play, and you're giving the referee a decision to make. If that was the other way around, I'd be screaming for a penalty. So I don't have any issues with that one. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, no, agreed. Yeah, it can't be. High boots are dangerous. Yeah, if you do a high boot and it's very unlikely, it's
Yeah,
got to be like you've got to have no players in like the close vicinity of you, no opposition players, which is again really difficult
yeah,
to do. I know. Um, in the Birmingham Newcastle game, Callum Wilson did it for Newcastle where he put a high boot, but there's no one around him, so he was fine. He could do that. So
yeah. You're just a
yeah, and
chop
that's
in thin air as opposed to any other human being,
yeah,
basically.
you can't do that when there's a opposition player close to you because they'll just take the opportunity to just put their head in, then go whoops, oh, got fouled there, it's a foul.
Whoops, I've just made someone fall down. Oh no, ref, why have you given a penalty? Even though it was probably clear as day. But no, I have no complaints with that one. What I do have a complaint with is Wilson Isidore getting wrestled to the ground in the second half, and the referee sees it and somehow does not give a penalty. But now, knowing us recently, we probably would have missed it anyway, but it's not the point. We still, for me, I feel we did not say we were robbed, because again, at that point we weren't great, but I felt like, if I'm right, a couple of years ago, Bristol City went on a long run when they hadn't been awarded a penalty in the Championship, I believe. It was like around about a year, I think. And it was the game at
A
our
bit more
place.
than a year,
Yeah, it was a game at the Stadium of Light when you got a late penalty. And I think Bristol City's Twitter admin was really funny. I think it said something like, "We've actually finally got a penalty," or something, or "Unbelievable scenes, a penalty has been awarded." We haven't had a
yeah.
penalty at
That,
home. Go
that
on,
was
go on.
probably the best away game of that season, not because we got like a late point, because we got the penalty. That was really, that's probably, yeah. And the funny thing about that one, not a penalty. Not a pen. It's not a penalty. Yeah, it's fine.
At
Don't
the end
matter.
of the day, it's championship referees. You expect it, don't you? But yeah, no, it is quite funny. Yeah, but no, we haven't got a penalty at the Stadium of Light in our favour since October 2023, which is quite bizarre, really, because it feels like to me one of our players has literally, unless I've remembered it wrong and I've forgotten a penalty. And to be honest, the second half of last season I tried to forget, but I don't think we've had a couple of penalties against us, which have been penalties, but it's just quite funny that away from home we get a fair few penalties, but. Then again, we've missed 3 out of the 4 penalties we've got this season, so maybe we shouldn't just get them full stop. Either way, but no, all right point for Sunderland if you beat Luton on Wednesday, I think. But obviously that's no given, and for Watford, if they lose to Leeds, so be it. But we'll move on from that. But yeah, no, on paper, Watford would have definitely taken that before the game, I would think. But obviously the manner of it is disappointing, and from Sunderland's point of view, in terms of performances, we're definitely a lot better than that. What I will say to end it before we move on to the last game we're talking about is, I think we're definitely wanting to have Romain Mundle or Tommy Watson back soon enough. I think when if Enzulafi starts to go down that middle of the pitch, and we get Mundle or Watson and the crucial bit is keep them fit, which is always the big thing, then we could be potentially very dangerous in the last. Potentially is the key word, depending on injuries in the last third of the season. But we'll wait and see with that one.
You want Enzo Lefebvre in the middle, don't you?
Yeah,
It's
absolutely, absolutely.
that guy can that guy can play. I saw that Middlesbrough game and I was like going, how's he in the hat? Why are you in this division? Why?
I know
It was just
you just think it's me. You just think, what was it? The commentary
it's
fan
not
at
fair.
Leicester. It's not fair. It is not fair. But yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I mean, I did to some degree feel for Luke Ayling that night. Like, he's an aging Luke Ayling, and he just got up against Lenz Laffy, who's one of the best players in the division, which is just it's not very fair. But yeah, and it'd be good to, and particularly with Watson, because obviously we could have sold him to Brighton on deadline day, which didn't happen in the end. We rejected something like 13 million quid, which is utterly bizarre. But there you have it. But anyway, we've moved on. We've talked enough about Sunderland. Yeah, we'll see what happens on Wednesday. Hopefully, we beat Luton and then go to Leeds and at least get something. But we'll see. I might be doing one last thing before we move on to the last game. I might be doing a preview on this channel with Carl in the build up to that Leeds versus Sunderland, which is obviously a pretty big game anyway. But in the context of how this automatic promotion race is contending, it could be a classic. But now announce a 0-0 draw now. So last game, as I know Annie is the least favourite bit you're looking forward to the least. You take it away. Bristol City 0, Swansea City 1. And obviously it was a chance for you. I know you're not going to like me for saying this, but I think was this if you'd have won today, would you have gone 6th? Is that right? I'll take that as a yes.
Yeah.
So Josh Tiemann or Tiemann's goal, I don't know how you pronounce that name. Early-ish second half goal sealed sort of ended Swansea's duck recently. So welcome to the club, Annie. Welcome to the club, Annie, of ending teams' bad spells for them. So not quite as bad for us as it was for you, obviously, but yeah, take it away. What happened? Or do you just want to say it's a match that happened and just leave it there?
I just want to cry sometimes watching this club. And what I'm about to say is not anything against this group of players or up against this manager.
I think I know what you're going to say here. Yeah,
it is a club mentality. Anytime we have any sort of expectation put on us, and I'm thinking Birmingham at home, like a few seasons ago, when we could have gone from 7th to 3rd, right, and really put ourselves in the automatic promotion race in 2019-20, we lose that game 3-1. We have any sort of expectation on us, on a home game in particular, we just fold. We just can't handle it. Any kind of mention of the top 6, this club just can't handle it, and it's just infuriating because it's like, oh, everyone else. And I saw the Norwich result, and I saw the Derby penalty, and I was like, okay, we're in the top 6 here. If we beat a Swansea side that haven't won in 2025, they've lost 6 away games in a row, I think, or something stupid like that.
Yeah, and I saw you in the group chat on Monday when we played Middlesbrough. You were just going up the Mackhams and you're just going, just absolutely happy at the end of that one. You probably would have seen us draw to Watford and rescue something out of that. You go, yes, massive opportunity.
And we would have overtaken Middlesbrough, we would have overtaken Blackburn, we would have overtaken Norwich. Just complete inability from this club to just do anything significant, anything dramatic, and just screw it up. Bitterly disappointing. Game didn't have. We didn't create enough, in my opinion, to go and win the game. Sam Bell hit the post. Swansea looked really vulnerable for the first 10 minutes from set pieces, and Jason Knight had Lawrence Vigouroux, by the way, and I think Curtis put this in the group chat, I said this as well. Vigouroux was a man mountain for the first 15 minutes. And if it wasn't for him, I think if we go 1-0 up in that game, I think we win it. But we don't. So we didn't. What's the Gino De Campo? Probably shouldn't say that.
Something
What's the
like
Gino De Campo? It was that one. Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. It wasn't like Swansea were brilliant. They blew us away or anything. 5 minutes of pressure. This exact same thing that happened at Oxford. 5 minutes of pressure, and we concede a goal, which is just not good enough. It's not good enough. You've got to be dealing with. You're going to come under pressure in games, especially against Swansea, who are a good side. But in my opinion, they're a bit of a false position. They should be higher up the league table, at least in the top half. They're a good enough side for that. And you'll come under pressure. 5 minutes and you concede a goal and you fold like that. It's just crazy stuff. They gained a better territory. Swansea I think it was Vipotnik or Carlin had a shot, and the Sky replay of that shot, actually, that goal, you'll see Mark Sykes, who's our right wing back, just completely fall asleep for the whole of the goal. Just falls asleep completely and doesn't track Josh Tiemann, who's behind him. Max O'Leary parries it to Tiemann. I mean, I've seen Max O'Leary get blamed for it. I mean, Christ, what's he meant to do in that situation? And then Sykes doesn't track his man. Tiemann has an empty net. And as soon as that ball went in, I'm going, okay, here we go again. This is the same story. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this nonsensical BS again at home.
You know what the clip is from GTA? Oh shit! Here we go again.
Exactly that. Yeah, I mean, it's just.
Maybe when we would ask you, what you should have done was just put that clip up and just go, there you go, that's it. Review in 3 seconds, done.
And it's and it's just like, oh. And again, yeah, Sam Bell hit the post, but I'm sure the stats will say one thing, and I'll have a look at the stats right now because um, the momentum graphs look good, looks very good in our favour. We had 19 shots. Vigouroux made 3 saves. We had 0 big chances. We accumulated an XG of 1.04, which on the face of it looks all right. If you divide that by the number of shots we had, it looks pretty dreadful. So Swansea, fair enough. I mean, were they completely better than us? Were they much to deserve to win? Probably not. They were the better side. Probably the second half. They controlled the game nicely. They sat in quite nicely with Delacroix and Cabango and Norton and Timon being really good at being fullbacks. I thought Lewis O'Brien had a good game, and that'll be a positive considering Matt Grimes has left. And I thought he had a good game for Swansea in the middle of the park. But from Bristol's perspective, and we just blow it, just completely blow it. And I saw, and I heard a guy on the radio afterwards going, "Where BBC is like we blow it, and then we bottle it, and then we chuck it away. That's what Bristol are. That's what we do. Any hope of top 6 is going to be really difficult. And I'm sitting here, and I've been thinking this for a while actually. The only reason Bristol City and a lot of the teams that are in a top 6 race is because the top 6 race is so beyond awful. It's crazy. It's like the average for top 6 is around average for 6th place 70-ish.
70 to 73-ish, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, we got into it 2 seasons ago. I'm showing like 69 points, so it's not exactly the
Yeah,
highest of averages, is it?
yeah. I think the projection this season is 65 or 66,
That low?
which is
Wow.
yeah. No, that's the reason so many teams are in it.
We only
That's the
need
reason,
less than 10 points to win the playoffs. Get in!
and it's like that's. And I'm here. I'm currently sat here thinking, surely a West Brom, surely a Norwich, a Middlesbrough, someone. God Almighty, let it be Bristol City. Surely someone wins 7 in 10, 8 in 10, 10 out of the next 15. Someone just puts on a run, surely. And the longer it goes on, just doesn't happen. The only reason Bristol City are in this top 6 race, because quite frankly, we're performing like a mid-table club. Our points tally is something of a mid-table club, but we're in a top 6 race. We're 9th. We're in a top 6 race. And that's only because of quite dreadful the top 6 standard is at the moment. So disappointing, but quite honestly, we can't dwell on it too much because we've got a massive game again on Wednesday night against Stoke, who'll be right up for it. I'm sure they will, and there'll be full focus on the league for them as well. So it's just deflating, because every time you have that little bit of expectation, just a touch, just a tiny bit, and I've never once in my time supporting City, like realistically in a league game anyway, gone into it going, we should win that game. We should win this game. When we've played lower league oppositions, sure, yeah, whatever. But when we've played Rotherham at home last season, and there's no disrespect to Rotherham, I always went, yeah, I mean, this is Bristol City. This could be Bristol City and stuff like that. I've never once been expectant, and the first time, the tiniest hope stairs has been ripped away. And this is what this club does. I thought Luke Williams's comment was nice and interesting after the game, where he said Bristol City need to back Liam Manning over a number of seasons and a number of years because there's something really good building there. Luke, if you want to tell that to our fan base, that would be nice and appreciated, mate, because clearly some of them are very fickle and very indecisive on where they stand on Liam Manning. Personally, I like Liam Manning. I think he's a really good manager. I think he's showing some really good signs as a coach. Pretty much everyone we've come up against this season, despite some absolute hammerings, have said Bristol City are a good, well organised side, well coached, hard to break down, and good in transitions, good on the ball. We're a bit of everything. We're a bit of a jack of all trades kind of team, but we are not specialist or anything really. We're not a good possession based side. We're not there yet. We're not good transition side. We're not a good defensive side. We're not good at anything. We're not perfect. We're not very good at anything, and that's the main issue for me. And if Middlesbrough, West Brom, Norwich get their act together, that's the main kind of worry for me. If for City to prolong their kind of, it's a death by 1,000 cuts. This, if we are to prolong this death, the Norwich and Middlesbrough and West Brom in particular are going to have to keep kind of falling away and kind of stumbling along the line. If we're still in touch with 5 games to go, if we're 2 or 3 points away, I'd be amazed. I'd be amazed. Put it that way, because I think that we should ebb away gradually as time goes on from this top 6 race, because I don't think we're ready. And if we do get in the top 6, well, that's 5th or 6th, we'd get annihilated.
So not very confident then, in other words.
Simple as that. Yeah. It's a matter of fact, because the top 4 is just better than everyone else in this division. And yeah, we are a mid-table club, a mid-table team, mid-table squad that are performing like a mid-table standard, but have found themselves into the top in the top 6 race. We get annihilated.
Yeah. Well, as I said to you, and I know you didn't like me saying it, but you could be the relegation spots in League One, like your nearest and not so dearest. So yeah, but either way, no, I do take the point you're making. I think it's one where again the standard's just inconsistent at best with when it comes to 5th downwards, and I think it's really it's basically who's the least inconsistent will end up getting 5th or 6th, basically. And there's the problem you've got is that there's a handful of teams within that. Again, like I said, Coventry are starting to rise up the table despite the loss to Leeds and obviously Ipswich in the cup. They're starting to rise to the level that you would expect from their squad, truth be told. Then you've got Norwich, if they keep Sargent fit, as we say, arguably, if not the best striker in the league. Middlesbrough, look, we know what Middlesbrough have been kings of shooting themselves in the foot this season, but look at the riches they've got up front, man. If you have a look at it, it's just mental.
The money they've spent is on another
level.
Oh
yeah,
well.
Absolutely.
To another club that's in a playoff race, you just go, how are you meant to compete with? It's just how are you meant to compete with that?
But that's the problem, isn't it? Because they've also just banked another, 18 million or so off Atlanta. So obviously, and even their striking options are what, Force, and then to a bigger degree, Conway, Ahi, and Nacho coming in as well. Exactly.
It's so nice to have. I mean, that's another thing. We are trying to build a squad that's going to be really, really. We're trying to build a squad like that, like what Middlesbrough have, but we've only just started it. Yeah. We are at the start of the cycle. And we're expected to compete. No, we can't do that. No, we can't.
Yeah, no, I think the biggest thing, and I'm interested because I had a conversation with a couple of Norwich fans after we played them right before Christmas, and they're kind of going down the same route that what we did. Now, the problem is we started our process basically the year we got up from League One, and that was where. So this is what our 4th season into this progress. Now, obviously, I can imagine, obviously, as you said yourself, the frustration for someone like Bristol City is that obviously Sunderland had been in League One and then have come up and overtaken a lot of clubs at this level. And I mean, there's obviously, with all due respect to a lot of clubs at this level, Sunderland are gargantuan in terms of size, but at the same time, you still have to go out and do the job, don't you? So I get your point. I think if you're able to build gradually over a number of seasons, then it is great. Obviously, then the long versus short term argument becomes the conversation, doesn't it? Because then you want to have an element of short term success, which I would still say I'm guessing that Liam Manning has.
Michael, if we're starting a process now, we've been in this division 10 years.
Oh yeah, well exactly. That's what I was going to say.
It's not like we've just been promoted from League One. We've been in this division 10 years. We should have at least, at the very, very, very least, built a half decent squad by now. But no, we've done some very questionable stuff, and we have been doing some very questionable stuff recently. And
like a white and streaky bacon.
God knows. And our head of recruitment has been saying some very interesting stuff, even this morning. So, it's just how much longer can this kind of? And I don't want to make this into a conversation of we are mid-table. We're always going to be mid-table, because I don't think we are. I think eventually there will be a tipping point, whether we go, hopefully that way, not that way.
Luton were able to get to the Premier League, so we'll with all due
Luton are
respect to
so,
Luton, but like
Luton are
if
so well run. Luton are so well run, and they've got clear strategies. Gary Sweet has got everything in order there. They have one style of play that worked, that was effective, and we are mishing mashing trying to find one, and now we're at the start of another process. And I think that has ticked a lot of us, a lot of fans off. Not me, yeah, a lot of fans off. I think that's the frustration. We're starting another new process. We've been trying to do that for 10 years. That's the big
it seems
concern,
to me
and
like
that's the big frustration,
yeah,
big
it
gripe.
seems, oh, absolutely. I mean, if you go for me, it seems like if you're going, what's the word I'm going to phrase is it? It seems to me like you have to obviously have to pick a strategy and like really stick with it and stick and not like stick. I mean, I don't know how many strategies you've tried over that in the last 10 or 11 years you've been in the championship, but obviously if you pick one and then eventually if you believe in it and the recruitment's good, eventually that will start taking care of itself. But we shall wait and see. If I had to put you on the spot, last question before we get the table up. Who do you reckon is going to nab fifth and sixth as of this moment? Bearing in mind this is obviously can be subject to change, but as of right now, what's your gut telling you?
I would say West Brom was one of them. I think with Adam Armstrong coming in with Madger as well. I mean, just Christ, that's good. Um,
And they'll suit the football Tony Mowbray will want to play as well.
Flip of a coin between Middlesbrough and Norwich, in my opinion. It's a
Yeah,
literal flip of a coin.
I would say
I'd
it's two of them three.
yeah,
Possibly Coventry, depending on how long the
difficult.
Lampard longevity lasts. Well, it depends, doesn't it? But if I had to pick a guess, I would say two of West Brom, Norwich, and Borough. For me, really, I think for Borough it would be the biggest, say, criminal offence to make it sound dramatic. But when you look at Borough's forward options, that should be finishing in the playoffs for me.
At the very least.
Yeah,
They
it
should
should
be in
be
the top
finishing.
two.
Yeah, it should be finishing. I would say, with terms of the top two race, that if they had a better defensive line, yes, I would agree with you. I mean, I'm not saying that they've got a
But
bad.
they do. But they do, Michael. They do.
Yeah,
Look at
but
their
their goals
options. They
conceded
do.
is ridiculous, though.
Yeah,
Like,
no, they shouldn't be conceding that many goals. They do have a good defensive, like
I know what you
kind
mean.
of
Yeah,
list of players. They've got Rav Vandenberg, they've got George Edmondson, they've got Del Fry, Lucas Engel, Bangora, Giles has come back. They've got Luke Ayling. They've got
well, I
some
mean, if
good
Ryan Giles
options.
wants to score more finishes like he did in the Weir Tees Derby, Tees Weir Derby. But no, I take the point you're making. Like, Middlesbrough definitely should be. If they're not in the top six, I think questions about Carrick's future are pretty fair, in my opinion. And then I would say, and then West Brom and Norwich for me all hinges on if Sargent stays fit for me. I know they've got Bora Signs, who obviously is going to be doing Bora Signs things when he comes back from suspension. But I think a
He's
big
back.
thing is
He's
if
back midweek,
Sargent
isn't he?
yeah, well, if Sargent stays fit, then there's a massive opportunity there. West Brom, yeah, it's going to be heating up. But again, it's who's going to put a half decent run of form together is basically who's going to end up being in
If
there.
at I'd probably say, and I'd give you two names now. I'd probably say Middlesbrough and West Brom.
I think I would, yeah,
Just Middlesbrough.
I'd probably agree with that. But it's a lot of with Middlesbrough is like with Leeds at the top. Middlesbrough's worst enemies themselves, basically. If they can avoid all of that for the last third of the season, then yeah, I would imagine they would be in there. But it's not a very confident one at the moment. But I would agree with you. Right, I think Carl's still behind the scenes. If he's able to get the league table up, which that would be fantastic, and he's doing it right on cue. That is absolutely brilliant. So as you can see, Leeds and Burnley were not in action due to the FA Cup, but both played in midweek. So Leeds are still top, 5 points clear of Burnley, who are third, 2 points clear of Sheffield United. Obviously, I think it's 7 clear of Sunderland. Then we have West Brom and Blackburn making up the 5th and 6th spots in the playoffs, with Borough and Norwich and Bristol City just outside of it. And if we're going down towards more of the bottom end of the league, hey, look at that. He's right on it, isn't he? Then we have Plymouth propping up the table, but with some couple of really good morale boosting results. Luton second bottom, and then the final spot, currently managerless Derby. By the time we next come on, we'll see what happened with that one. With Portsmouth and Hull City, Cardiff, Stoke, and etc. just outside the bottom three. So yeah, we're now approaching the sort of last stretch of the season. And then if we look at games coming up next, we have. Hang on, let's see if I can get this right. I'll get it on my phone. There we go. So this coming midweek on Tuesday, we have Coventry versus QPR. The Gary Rowett derby at Pride Park as Derby host Oxford. We have Portsmouth against Cardiff, which is a very big 6-pointer down the bottom. Leeds travel to Watford. Norwich host Preston. And then on Wednesday night, we have Bristol City against Stoke. After everything Andy said, watch Bristol City win 4-0 now. Then Hull travel to Burnley. Plymouth host Millwall. Sunderland host Luton. Swansea play Sheffield Wednesday at Liberty Stadium. Middlesbrough travel to Bramall Lane. And finally, and the probably arguably game of the night apart from Sheffield United Middlesbrough, where Blackburn go to West Brom as 5th, meet 6th in the Championship table. Then we go into next weekend. So we have QPR versus Derby on the Friday night. And then I'll not ask Annie what his feelings are about this game. Cardiff versus Bristol City next Saturday. Yeah, he's not very looking forward to that, I'm sure. Then another battle of the promoted clubs. Oxford beat Portsmouth at the Kassam. Preston host Burnley. Then we have Blackburn, Plymouth, Hull, Norwich, Luton, Sheffield United, and 2 of the relegated clubs. Middlesbrough, Watford, Millwall, West Brom, Sheffield, Coventry, and Stoke and Swansea. Before final game of that week is Leeds versus Sunderland next Monday night. So yeah, very quiet week of Championship action ahead, basically. Yeah, absolutely. So thanks Annie for putting up with my waffle for about an hour and 33 minutes. But it's been, at least we're giving Annie a little therapy session for Bristol City and me a semi-therapy session from yesterday. But yeah, thanks everyone who's watching. Subscribe to this channel, for Carl's channel, and remember to look out that there could be a potential preview for me and him for Leeds versus Sunderland next week. And yeah, we shall see what happens. And yeah, thanks everyone who's watched. Take care. See you next week.